Hey folks, we're sponsored today by Slingbox. Slingbox is the best way to watch your TV anywhere, whether you're at home or halfway around the world. Watch your TV right on your laptop, tablet, or smartphone. Slingbox brings your cable box, satellite receiver, or DVR, and you know what? Frankly, your whole at-home TV experience right to your favorite mobile device, wherever you are in the world, with no monthly fees. Slingbox has a special offer for WTF listeners. Go to slingbox.com/WTF and get $50 off plus free shipping on a new Slingbox. That's slingbox.com/WTF. We're also sponsored by One Night Only, an all-star comedy tribute to Don Rickles, Wednesday, May 28th at 9 p.m. Comedy has never seen a night like this. Jerry Seinfeld, David Letterman, Jon Stewart, Tina Fey, Amy Poehler, Jimmy Kimmel, Johnny Depp, Robert De Niro, Martin Scorsese, and more, folks. Stand up for the Don of comedy, Don Rickles. It's One Night Only, Don Rickles, Wednesday, May 28th at 9 o'clock, only on Spike. Okay, let's get on with the show. Yo? Yeah? Yes? Okay, here we go.
Lock the gate!
All right, let's do this. How are you, what the fuckers, what the fuck buddies, what the fucking ears, what the fuck sticks, what the fucksters, what the fuckleberry thins, and what the fuck rakers? Hi, it's Marc Maron. Where we at? All right. RuPaul was on the show today, and I got to tell you, this was an enlightening conversation. I was not in a great place. I was a little burnt out. I have been a little burnt out. I didn't know what to expect from RuPaul. I had no idea. I know as much as you guys know from watching him do his work and being who he is. I know he was on his way over here. He got lost. I got on the phone with him. He seemed nice. You make assumptions about a guy in drag. And I was a little at the end of my rope. I don't know if you guys know this, but sometimes this is exhausting, talking to people intensely for hours at a time. I get a little burnt out. I was a little at the end of my rope. The last relationship kind of knocked me for a loop. Just a little frazzled, trying to put together a new hour of stand-up. I mean, look, I'm not complaining. Some of you think I'm complaining. I'm not. But I do get exhausted and aggravated and anxious. And RuPaul came in here and just something about it. We got down to brass tacks of spiritual stuff and other stuff, and he made me feel better. It felt like a very, very proactive conversation. It helped me. So that's coming up momentarily. But I was in Nashville. Let me do this first. If you listen to this show, there's something you might ask yourself from time to time. Why does Mark like Stamps.com so much? Well, here's a quick answer. When you're running your own business, you want to do whatever it takes to make sure it runs efficiently. I have a lot of responsibilities, folks, and going to the post office all the time should not be one of them. It eats up valuable time and energy. So Stamps.com helps me do everything I would at the post office right here in my garage at this table. It helps me, it helps the business, and it'll help you. Buy and print official U.S. postage for any letter, any package using what you already have, your own computer and printer. Then just hand it to your mail carrier. Hand it to your guy, to your gal. It's that easy, folks. Join the 500,000 small businesses that use Stamps.com and never have to go to the post office again. Right now, use my promo code WTF for this special offer. Start a no-risk trial, plus get a $110 bonus offer that includes a digital scale and up to $55 of free postage. Don't wait. Go to Stamps.com, and before you do anything else, click on the microphone at the top of the homepage and type in WTF. That's Stamps.com. Enter WTF. So, do that. I'm going to be in New Mexico next week. All right, so on the 31st, I'll be in Albuquerque. Go to WTFpod.com for the info. I got dates coming up in Charlotte, North Carolina, Bloomington, Indiana, Chicago, Illinois, and Albuquerque, New Mexico. New Mexico's next Saturday, my hometown. Come out. It's the 31st. It's a benefit for a Endorphin Power Company. They're a halfway house-ish thing. All right, so I go to Nashville because I got a gig, the Wild West Comedy Festival. It's a new comedy festival. Vince Vaughn is involved. My buddy Ahmed, you've heard him on this show. He tells me I should do it, maybe do a WTF with Vince. So we set up this WTF with Vince. Now, I take on a lot of things that I don't know if I can handle necessarily. I say yes to a lot of things. I don't know how to say no. Now, my experience with live WTFs The live WTFs I used to do with groups of comics, that's just for fun, get some laughs. But one-on-one, it's tricky, and I don't know Vince. I've never met Vince. I only know him like you know him, from movies and stuff. I don't think we're the same type of dude. I'm concerned that maybe he's going to hand me my ass somehow. I don't know how I'm going to have to. Talking to him one-on-one in here would make me a little intimidated. He's just that kind of guy. I met him once. He's a very tall fellow. Tall. I get very anxious. I get very full of dread and anxiety, and I make myself crazy before interviews. Even when I just do them in the garage in my house, I drive myself nuts. I don't know if you know that about me, but it's true. I have a sense of where I want to go, but walking into a conversation that you're hoping is going to last at least an hour, that way is a little anxiety inducing. So I got weeks to think about this. Now we're going to do it in front of an audience, and I didn't know how it was going to go. So I'm heading to Nashville, and I'm a little nuts. I got to do it that night. And I get to the theater. We got about 300 tickets sold. And Vince walks in, and I'm like, hey, man. He's like, what's up? And I'm like, how you doing? Very charming guy. Professionally charming, that guy. But a nice guy. And I tell him, look, we're just going to do it. And I said, look, it's a little tricky to have a real conversation in front of people because you're going to want to, I think we're both, if you have the chops, you're going to want to get some laughs and you want to loop them into the conversation. You don't want to just sit there and speak candidly in front of people and not include them. Well, I told him, I said, we'll see what happens. It should be good. And he was excited, and I went up there, and it was great. Not only was it good, there was a through line, there was a theme. He did hand me my ass a bit. He helped me out a bit. I seem to be in another mode of kind of a slight bit of anxiety and a little overly neurotic and aggravated. Well, it's good, though, because I need a little help emotionally, and that always makes for a pretty good interview. But here's what happened in Nashville. Had a great show at Zany's. We did a 7 o'clock show, packed the place out. Thank you for coming out. I know I was a little loose. I know I was a little manic because of coffee intake and other things in my mind. But it was a great show, and I really appreciate everyone who came out there in Nashville. So what did I get done in Nashville? A pretty monumental thing happened. I'm eating with my buddy Court McGowan. Okay, we're just sitting there at a place called Nashville, having some breakfast, and 3 dudes walk up to me. One of them is wearing a Goodland Record T-shirt. I recognize the T-shirt. That's Ben Pearlstein. I'd never met him in the flesh, but he's Tommy Stinson's manager. Tommy Stinson, the bass player from The Replacements, who I've had on this show. With him are a cat named John Phillip, okay? And the other guy with him is this guy named Tanner Shep. So I don't know these guys. They all introduce themselves as fans. Pearlstein, I know him because, we've worked with him before, and he manages this band that these other 2 guys are in, all right, and that's Trapper Shep and the Shades. They're recording a record down the street, and they're telling me that they're fans, and they're in the studio, and John Phillip is like, yeah, we listen to your shit, and this guy Tanner, he listens to my shit, and, obviously Ben's a fan, and they're recording a record. I'm like, you guys need a guitar player? I said, jokingly. And they're like, yeah, you should come down to the studio. I'm like, no, seriously. Really? And they're like, yeah, come down. We're working on some songs, and you could probably figure out a way to get you in on a song. And I'm like, really? Yeah, I can come in the studio? So to me, this is like, oh my God. I've never recorded in a studio. I've never done any music like that. I'm just, I just play guitar here in my garage by myself. And I'm like, are you serious? They're like, yeah, come at noon. I'm like, no fucking way. So now this is all I'm thinking about. I'm going to go play guitar. I'm going to go jam in a studio with these guys. They're making a record. The name of the band's Trapper Shep and the Shades. All right, so the 2 guys are in it. Trapper and Tanner are brothers. Trapper's the guitar player. Tanner's the bass player. John Phillip is the drummer. Well, anyway, so I go meet them at Brendan Benson's studio. Brendan Benson from the Raconteurs. He's also a solo artist. All right, so now it's like getting big. Now I'm like, holy shit, this is big time. So I get there, they're like, pick a guitar. And there's a wall of guitars. So I pick this Telly, and I'm like, well, what do you want it to sound like? What are we doing? What's the song? And I had never done this before, and now I'm sitting there, and they're treating me like a professional musician. Like he's showing me the song. Now I got to learn the song. I never learn songs, really, very rarely. So I got to learn the song. Then I got to figure out a riff for the song. Then I got to figure out how I'm going to play it. And then Brendan Benson, the wizard, he hooks me up in this little tube amp, and it's like I want to sound like Keith. I think that's the way to go. When in doubt, sound like Keith. So he gets that thing going. It's in a separate room of the studio. Like, it's all rigged up, man. Like, he's got me plugged into an amp in another room, and they're on the headphones. So I'm excited, overwhelmed, and I think I'm way outgunned here. Like, I'm just a fucking amateur guitar player, right? So we work it out. We work out the songs. We start doing takes. I'm in the studio, and I spent the entire day there, recording an actual song for a record. I don't know if they'll cut me out or not. Doesn't matter. It was amazing. And I got to tell you, man, I walked out. I was thrilled that they let me do it. The thing was, they were very nice to let me be involved, and they seemed excited about it. I think I played all right, but I got very insecure, and I'm walking out. I thanked them. I don't even know what to say. I was just sort of like, yeah. And I'm walking out, and then Trapper comes running after me. He's like, here, man, here's a session fee. He gave me $100. I don't want any money. It was a very kind gesture and a respectful one, and now I can say I'm a paid studio musician. Obviously, I'm not. Look, here's what I learned from this. All right. I learned that I am definitely not a professional musician. All right. A lot of things go into it. You got to do, a lot of takes. You got to do, you got to re-record stuff. But I learned a lot. I learned about the whole process, at least in, Benson's studio. I did some overdubs or whatever. I corrected some things. I got the lead right. I sang on another song, some backup, but whatever. I spent the day there doing a real recording session. And look, I'm just not a professional musician. This is what I learned. All right. I'm not a professional musician. I'm limited. And quite honestly, I obviously don't take it seriously. The other thing I learned is I think I found what I want to do with the rest of my life. And I just hope I'm going to break this to you easy, but I think it's time for me to start recording songs that I've written, in a studio with a band. Now, a lot has to happen between this announcement and actually doing it. Like, first, I have to get a band. I have to write the songs. And so, okay. All right, maybe it's not going to happen overnight. But it was fucking amazing. I just want a Trapper Shep in the shades to know that it was a real thrill for me. And I hope I make the cut. Like, if you don't, I'm speaking directly to them now. Obviously, I could text somebody, but if you don't put my guitar playing on that cut of the record, I will be brokenhearted, and I will, and no matter how good the record is, I'll say it's bad. Okay? That's just how I'm going to play this one. That's what I'm going to do. All right, look, let's talk for a minute about binging, okay? What do you binge on? Food, TV, coffee? How about a binge nap? Those are good. Yeah. Sometimes I like going on a good spite binge. It's very satisfying. But the truth is, all of these things might give you temporary pleasure, but they're not a smart use of your time. Thankfully, our Smarty Pants friends at WNYC, who make hit podcasts like Radiolab and Freakonomics Radio, have come up with a way to smart binge on the go the best of public radio. Download the WNYC mobile app, and its new Discover feature will instantly download a playlist customized to your interests. You can get off the couch and go to the gym and be entertained and informed at the same time. You can smart binge for 2 hours on Radiolab or all day long on fascinating stuff you hadn't even thought about. So go check it out. Get the WNYC app and start smart binging today at wnyc.org/smartbinge. And then once you're done, you can have some ice cream and nap. Go ahead. Do it for me. That's wnyc.org/smartbinge. RuPaul is my guest today, and I love this conversation I had with him, so enjoy it.
I definitely couldn't have done that anymore.
Right.
That was that. And I did it for a good 10 years after it was done,
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What, just the booze and the drugs?
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
I'm from San Diego. I started when I was 10.
10 doing what?
Smoking weed and drinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, and actually by 14 by 13 I was doing Red Devils. You know what those were? They were in the after-school movies. There were Bennies and Dixies.
Oh, right. Speed.
Yeah, but there was Speed, and then there were the Downers too.
Right.
Yeah. So
well, you started early enough where there really were Downers. Mm-hmm. Downers sort of went away. The classic Downers. Quaaludes gone.
Well, if you remember, Quaaludes made a comeback in '88, in '89.
Yeah.
But they were bootleg, and they
were they Mexican? They were like mandrakes or something. Wasn't that another thing?
Like that. They were. I think they were cut with like with heroin or something that made
something practical.
Something practical and cheap, and totally black out on them, which was kind of cool.
I can't get off nicotine. I eat nicotine lozenges all the time. I can't get off it.
Yes, you can. You can.
Yeah? What do you, I know I can.
Yeah.
I'd forgotten what that denial feels like. Like, tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow.
No, I think that's the Jew in you, actually.
What?
Yeah,
what, putting
totally.
it off?
That sort of a mild suffering that is,
I need it?
It feels so at home.
It does. You don't have it?
No, I don't. I don't.
Not at all?
You know, they're
just love and light all the time, Ru?
No. It's there. It's still there.
Yeah.
You know, but it takes work. It's like a tail that grows back every day. That's why, you know, I have my spiritual practices that I will do that just get me aligned.
What are they? Help me.
Well,
I need some advice.
Well, here we are in Los Angeles.
Yes.
I like to wake up really early in the morning, like 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
Do my yoga by myself, and then I will go down to. I have I'm very very Los Angeles Hollywood.
Yeah.
I have a little office down in West Hollywood that I go down to, where I keep all my clothes and all my just
that
stuff.
Must be a large office.
Well, it's actually a condo. It's like it's a 2-bedroom condo.
How many closets are there?
Well, the rooms are closets.
Right, okay.
The rooms are the closets. And so I go down there, and I check my emails and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Do some tweeting, and then I go to the gym at 5.
Okay.
And these are all spiritual practices. This is all meditation. This is all, you know, part of the thing that helps the tail, shaves the tail down.
Right.
Then I will either go to, a meditation meeting. And then,
This is every day?
Every day. Or I either go there, or like this morning, I went to Aretha Franklin Canyon for a hike at 6:30 in the morning.
Is it called Aretha Franklin Canyon?
No.
It's like, I don't know that one. Is that on the map?
Yeah, well, it's actually called Franklin Canyon, but if I call it Aretha Franklin Canyon, you'll never forget it.
Okay.
You'll know exactly what I'm talking about.
So by noon, you've done like 4 things, 4 self-care things.
Yeah, but they're maintenance. They have to be done. In fact, it helps everything in the day. You know? And so, although there is a yoga class I will go to at 9:15.
Do you get spiritual sort of peace out of yoga, or is it just a physical workout?
No, yeah, it's all it's spiritual. It's focusing on the breathing. It's focusing on the heartbeat and just being, you know, and being where you are right now.
Why do I fight all this? I do fight it
because you feel that, and I'm just not just you, just humans.
Yeah.
When you dissect what humans do, what the machine is, you can look at it from objectively and go, oh, it's doing that thing now.
Yeah.
So, so that's why you fight it.
But where did you? So you were born in San Diego? Mm-hmm. So you come from California. Mm-hmm. Like I would never associate you with San Diego. Yeah,
well, you know, a lot of brown-skinned people from the South either moved up to Detroit and, you know, did those industrial cities.
Right.
Or the later ones, like in the early 50s, moved to out west.
Where'd your family come from?
They're from Louisiana.
Really? Uh-huh. Do you still have family there?
You know, my sister told me yesterday that she's going to move down there.
She's going to go back?
She's going to go. I'm like, why? Why would you do that?
It's a pretty, I mean, I have nothing against it, but it's awfully hot and sticky.
It's hot and sticky, and, you know, there are still just old ideas.
Which ones? I mean, it seems like New Orleans itself is a pretty progressive, open-minded clusterfuck of a city.
Yeah.
But you're talking about the state itself?
I think just progressive thinkers. I think people who think on terms of doing things in a way that are more effective.
Yeah.
It's more rare to find people in in Louisiana,
right,
to do that.
Right, you'd have to have there'd be smaller groups.
Maybe
you'd have to set up meetings.
Exactly, you'd have to do that.
Secret meetings of people that are progressive thinkers.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to get a bunch of email from people in New Orleans going, "That is not true. There's 9 of us here."
Well, no, this is maybe that's in New Orleans, but my sister's going to be moving to Mansfield.
I have no idea.
Which is south of Shreveport, which is where my father was born and raised.
Is she going for emotional reasons, or?
You know what? My father, who he passed on a couple of years ago, but she bought a place down there with her husband, and they like it. Yeah. We grew up, on welfare, public assistance, and all that stuff. My idea of roughing it is the Four Seasons.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't want to rough it. I don't want anything hard. I don't want to be around people who I have to convince that I'm worthy of anything. I
just want to relax.
I want to relax, and I want to
not be judged.
You can judge me all you want, just don't get up in my face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when you were growing up in San Diego, I mean, what did you start with doing? I mean, what was your life like as a kid? I mean, because you evolved into this, phenomenon. I mean, I can't remember a time in my life where RuPaul wasn't somewhere on the periphery of my consciousness.
Right.
So how did that start? What were your interests? What was the struggle like at the beginning?
Well, I was in a house with all girls. My mother and father divorced when I was 7, but like the 2 years leading up to the divorce was just pure hell. They were
fighting.
Well, they were fighting, and they had their own melodrama. And us kids, we were just bit players, unpaid bit players, extras. So to get any attention, to get something going, I had to sing and dance or tell jokes. I had to have some value.
How many sisters?
3 sisters and me.
Yeah.
And then my older sisters, they're twins. They hightailed it out of there as soon as possible. In fact, the one who's moving to Louisiana she got married when she was 17.
Oh, wow.
17.
She with the guy still?
No. But
just wanted out.
She wanted out, wanted to get somewhere.
Yeah.
And so, and then when I was 15, I was able to move in with her, that same sister. She's my soul sister. And moved to Atlanta, Georgia, at that point.
And that was the great escape.
It was my own personal bar mitzvah. It was my way. I had made the transition. Sorry for lack of a better term, but I was able to move on to meet my tribe.
Yeah, and what was that? Why Atlanta? So you were 16?
I was 15.
15, and you're on your own.
Well, I was with my sister and her husband, the one she married when she was 17.
And what were your interests? Where were you at, sexually and otherwise?
Well, I was, let me just back up a little bit. I always thought outside the box, always could see colors that other people couldn't see. And I was always looking for my tribe. And the closest thing I'd gotten to that until that point was Monty Python on PBS. I was like, oh, my God.
Really?
These are my people.
Really?
Yeah. And then, there were inklings of it
just
here and there.
Just because of the absurdity and the comedy and
the irreverence and the looking and seeing outside the box and seeing how absurd and the hypocrisy of our culture. I remember first time I saw Woody Allen's Annie Hall, and he would have this ongoing dialogue with people on the street.
Yeah.
And he would say, are you feeling this? And they would say, well, yeah, I was feeling it, but you were this dialogue. And I was looking for people to have that dialogue with, like, is this all kind of weird to you?
Yeah.
But everybody was pretending like this was normal, this life that we have. It's like, and I explain it when I tweet or whenever I talk about this thing, it's like there are 2 types of people. The people who believe the Matrix, lock, stock, and barrel, and the people who understand, this is a construct. This is all illusion. Those are the 2 types of people. And I was always looking for the other people who were going, yes, it is illusion.
Against the status quo.
Exactly.
Against the sort of mediocrity, the cultural expectations of middle America and the American dream idea. It's interesting that the portal in was Monty Python, because you almost felt weird watching that, because I'm about the same age as you, a couple years younger, but you'd find it on PBS. It wasn't even on network TV. You're like, does anyone know that this is on? What is going on? on here? It was a pretty amazing feeling just to see the beginning of it, because it was from another country. It didn't feel like anything American, and it just didn't make sense in any way that we were able to process.
Yeah.
And it was hilarious.
Oh, my God, so great. And, it was around the same time I started smoking weed.
Oh, look at
so it was
hell of a combination.
It was perfect. It's perfect. So,
but did you want to do comedy?
No, I wanted to live life. I wanted to go and dip into the waters of Lake Minnetonka. I wanted to do everything. Like when you see young kids, I was watching a kid the other day.
Yeah.
Must have been about 4 years old, and he was so happy to be in a human body. He was just jumping around and going upside down, and he was running over there, and he came over and I was like, oh my God, it's great. I'm a human. Look at me. Look, I can do this. I can do that's what I wanted to do.
For no reason. Just to do it. Just to move your hands, jump around, roll on the ground.
Exactly.
With an exhausted parent going, yes, you can. You can do that.
Exactly. But unfortunately, when I was a kid, my parents were in their own melodrama, and I wanted, so I really couldn't, do that as much as possible.
Well, selfish parents make you, they don't provide a place where you can feel comfortable to be yourself even.
Right.
You just get steamrolled.
Absolutely.
They don't pay attention. You don't get any reaffirmation or any affirmation at all.
Right.
Like, good for you, kid. That's great. You just sort of
Luckily for me, though, my sister Renetta, who's moving to Louisiana, who was my soul sister, whom I moved to Atlanta with, and who got married at 17, she was my soul. She was the one who said, you're great. You should do this. Why don't you do that? I had that in my sister, so that was great.
That's great to have somebody protecting you and supporting you. So you get to Atlanta at 15. Now, I like Atlanta. It's a pretty great city, and that has a pretty strong progressive community and a pretty strong sort of, kind of whack job community a bit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's always been good music from there, good comedy from there. So what did you do when you get there at 15?
Well, at 15, in Atlanta, I got into the School of Performing Arts. We saw a real estate agent who asked me what I was interested in, and she said, well, you'd like the Northside School of Performing Arts.
Right.
And so from then on, that was my goal, and I got in and met my tribe. What
did they look like?
Well, they were kids like me who saw outside the box, who knew about things and music and things that weren't just what they were programmed.
What year are we talking now?
This is 1976.
Right.
Yeah, 1976. Because I'm born in November, so I'm 15 most of 76.
Okay.
I'm November 17th.
Wow, what is going on? Like, that's disco.
It's disco. I went to my first disco.
That's like the middle of it, right?
Yeah. Well, the middle of it would have been 77, 78.
Okay, so the beginning. So it's all starting.
Yeah.
Some dancing going on. There's some cocaine around.
Absolutely.
Poppers.
My brother-in-law, I'm 15. My brother-in-law lent me his ID.
Right.
And the drinking age then was 18 in Atlanta.
Yeah.
So I went to my first disco. It was called the Fox Hunt. And it was brilliant. It was brilliant.
Foxes. Remember that word?
Yeah.
Foxy.
Yeah. Oh, I still say foxy all the time. Yeah. No, it never goes away.
So you go in and it's what? There's like a mirror ball and there's like what's happening?
Well, this is Atlanta, and the history of Atlanta. Atlanta is a mecca for people all over the Southeast. And so, at this point, Atlanta was enjoying this amazing boom, and it's had several booms over the centuries, right?
What type?
Well, this was the Black Explosion boom, because in 74, Maynard Jackson had become the first black mayor of Atlanta. And so it was like, wow. And so all of these black people from all over the United States thought, let's go to Atlanta. And that's actually what we did. We went there because it was happening, and it was really happening.
Right.
So
what does that mean? Like, we talking like big hair?
Well, we're talking big hair, but just freedom to pursue your dreams,
right?
And to hopefully make money without a lot of obstruction from the man,
right?
So there was this feeling of freedom there that we moved there for, and over the years, people have moved to Atlanta for that same reason, for different aspects of that same reason.
Sure.
So.
And what was your plan? How did that evolve? When did you start to what did you start doing creatively first?
Well, first of all, it was theater and music theater, and then it went into new wave punk rock. It's actually the punk rock movement was sort of dissipating when the new wave thing was taking over. And I started my career at a club called 688 in a band. Mm-hmm. And this is about 81, 82. And so the B-52s had already exploded.
Now, are you in drag yet?
No. See, but this is the thing. This goes back to Monty Python thing and the Woody Allen thing, which is I understand that this is a matrix, and how can I, and I've come from the counterculture, San Diego, I grew up around, the hippie movement and all that, California.
You took that
love.
in.
That was all part of it.
The beach.
Everything. Because, I love it when Judge Judy says, you know what, I'm smarter than you, and I'll always be on you. The thing is, and I admire it because I was taught to never say you're smart. I dumbed down for so many years as a kid so I could sort of fly under the radar,
And fit in, too, right?
And fit in. And it's a strategic move. Yeah. It's a strategy.
Well, you're like, okay, so you're 3 years older than me, and I remember when I was a kid, what was left of the hippie thing, I mean, it defined culture. If you wanted counterculture, if you were compelled towards something that wasn't the Matrix, it always looked like, a couple of long hairs who were just hanging around doing nothing.
Yeah.
Like they got the answer. They're rebels. They're just not doing anything. They're just wandering around with long hair and bell bottoms.
But that's kind of revolutionary.
Yeah. No,
coming
absolutely.
from, the 50s where we come. That is kind of revolutionary because it says, you know what, I'm not going to play the game.
Right, fuck it.
Yeah. I'm throwing my... And by the way, and I'm jumping ahead, but part of the reason people have an aversion to drag is because it breaks the fourth wall, because it is so punk rock, because it says, you know what? Look, I'm a man. Oh, look, now I'm a woman. Look, now I'm a cowboy.
Yeah.
Now I'm a sailor. Now I'm this. Now I'm that. Now I'm this thing, this alien.
Well, I think that I don't know if I think the aversion, if there is an aversion, it's to what it confronts in men who don't know how to contextualize it.
Sure, I buy that.
Like, I don't think it's sort of like that. That's no good. It's sort of like, I don't know why I'm feeling this.
Right. Yeah, but that's a part of the bigger picture, which is that they say we're all God in drag.
Sure.
And so but there's a denial of that. And I think it's because nobody wants, it's a sort of a buzz killer. Nobody likes the actor who breaks the fourth wall because it takes them out of their high, out of their fantasy.
Well, so when you say the fourth wall, that drag breaks the fourth wall, is that you are within, the character, but you have the freedom to be whoever you want in there because the character stays as it is, so you can kind of move in and out of what.
Absolutely.
It's self-referential.
Absolutely.
All right, so like getting back to the 60s and then moving towards punk rock, when I brought up drag, you're like, no, not yet, because I was doing some other matrix busting activity. So that was, what was your punk band? What was the theatrics of it?
Well, it was a punk rock mentality, but we had already moved into this new wave.
Dance music yet?
It was party music because
I'm trying to think
a lot
who
of
that was, because I was
it was Bow Wow Wow and Hazy Fantasy, and it was the B-52s because we thought, wow, if these party kids from Athens could have this worldwide hit with Rock Lobster, then we could do it. And that's where we started. And they had come from Athens, Georgia, which is just 60 miles.
And still a big music town.
Yeah.
And still a mecca for music.
Sure.
So, but so you're how old?
I was 20.
And and the band was called?
Wee Wee Pole.
Yeah,
Wee Wee Pole. Yeah. Actually, but I joined this band called the Now Explosion, which was a sort of a takeoff on the B-52s. And this is about 82.
Did you know Fred? Did you know them? I mean, were they around?
No, we didn't know them, but they knew of us. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So,
because they were the reigning.
Yes.
They were the kings and
queens.
But
they were out on the road and all that kind of stuff. So, I was sort of a special guest of the Now Explosion. They existed. And then my spin-off band from the Now Explosion was Wee Wee Pole.
Now, were you singing?
Yeah.
And what were you wearing?
I was wearing a loincloth and a mohawk and, sort of this jungle look was my thing. Jungle, urban jungle.
And the band was there a synthesizer and a drum or just a... what was the outfit?
We had a synthesized drum with a percussionist, and then a bass and a guitar. And then I had two girls who I was in a little group before this called RuPaul and the U-Hauls. These two, there was sort of a takeoff on Sylvester's 2 Tons of Fun. And these 2 big black girls who sang backup for me. And then that merged into Wee Wee Pole.
Wee Wee Pole. Where did that come from?
You know what? We were talking, and I thought, it just came into my head, and I said, how about this? And he said, yes!
Right.
Let's do that. Because it's bow wow wow, wee wee pole.
Right.
That's why.
Now now who are you playing for? I mean, how do you even identify? Do you identify as gay? Do you identify as not gay? Do you identify as you?
On my Twitter account, which is just at RuPaul, I always do this. This is my favorite tweet ever, which is ego loves identity.
Right.
Drag mocks identity.
Right.
Ego hates drag. Because the thing is, humans always want to identify. I'm this and I'm that.
Sure.
And drag is really the antithesis of that, because it's like saying, oh, look, now I'm this, now I'm that. And it's like, I don't identify as whatever. Listen, I always say whatever the client wants. I'm not. I don't care. You can call me whatever you want. It doesn't matter.
But I mean, as you're finding, your path. Yeah. I mean, like, who is the audience? Because I know that, Atlanta has a very large, gay community, and there's there's a comedy club I play at, and it almost seems, I always feel this, even now when I go play the Laughing Skull, there's a big gay club right across the street, and it still feels, like, I always feel like there's still something secret about it down there. Is that possible?
I guess so. I guess, I was never secret. I was never in the closet.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Right.
What the whole identifying, and that's something humans, that's part of the machine. It's part of the machine.
Part of the matrix.
That we are programmed to say, well, I am this, I am that. I'm like, you know what? I am whatever. I'm whatever.
Right.
And it doesn't even matter, really, honestly.
Right. But I do think, it seemed to me that at certain points, identity was necessary to build community. Yeah,
no, it's part of the journey. It's part of the trajectory, of someone to go, well, I'm this. And then the deeper you go into it, you realize I am everything. Mm-hmm. I'm everything. And no judgment, and the worst in people, I am the best in people. I am everything. But your consciousness gets to decide how you're gonna, navigate this. Coming down here on the 101, there was a freeway, there was an accident across the freeway.
Right.
And so, but everyone on my side was stop to look. It's like, you know what? Govern your ass.
Yeah.
Handle your shit, ladykins, because, you're the problem. Everybody wants to look. It's like, it's an accident, So, part of the rebel or the whatever in me is like, I will not look. I will not be part of the problem. I won't look. I will not text on my phone. I will not, it's like.
Would you look if you were walking?
No, I don't want to see anything awful or horrible. I don't want to see any blood.
Have you seen enough?
I've seen enough. I really have. And the most horrific images are actually in my own head.
Right.
So I don't want to add to that.
Well, what did you experience? Okay, so you do Wee Wee Pole, and you're doing new wave party music, kind of like the B-52s. For how long did you do I know you have records as RuPaul, but did you do records then?
Yeah. My first record was in. Maybe it was 83. Mm-hmm. That was with Wee Wee Pole and stuff. This is the thing. Listen, I knew I was a star. Mm-hmm. I knew I was a star from day one.
Yeah.
I knew, and actually my mother, they said, Tony, what are you going to call the kid? And she said, his name is going to be RuPaul Andre Charles, because he's going to be a MF star. And my mother really actually spoke that way. She was from St. Martinsville, Louisiana, and very peppery, red hot firecracker, So, and then apparently before that, even a psychic had told her that it was going to be a boy, and then he's going to be famous. Uh-huh. So I grew up knowing that. I don't know.
Had to figure out how.
Yeah, well, I had to figure out how. And again, I had no judgment as to how it would be, but I was aware that I needed to listen to what the universe stage direction. And that's what it was. When this universe said drag, I was like, really? Drag? Mm-hmm. And I said, okay, sure.
But that was not something that was an afterthought.
It wasn't like, oh my God, I've got to get in those ladies' panties.
Yeah.
Not in the way you would think, but in the way.
Sure.
So it was never that way. And people still have a hard time understanding that that's even possible, that I could be so divorced from a moral whatever that I would use that as a tool.
Well, it's not moral. It seems to me that was a natural trajectory if you're performing and you're doing music and you're doing club music and you are into the theatrics of it. It's not that big of a leap.
Not to me.
Yeah, not from a mohawk and a loincloth.
No, it's not.
If you're gonna go there, why not go under drag?
Absolutely. It wasn't a leap at all. When I was about 13, I carried a magic marker with me everywhere I went so that I could write the word Bowie on everything that wasn't moving. Obsessed.
He was it, right?
Obsessed.
I love him.
Obsessed. So, no. And then coming from where I come from, and Monty Python, and then it was not
Monty Python and Bowie.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have never assumed.
Wasn't a stretch at all. So, but, it's funny, but once I did get into drag, and there were different levels. It started with gender F word. I won't say the other. I mean, I could, but I won't. Gender F word, which is a genre of drag. That's like
gender fuck.
It's like what the Monty Python did, but this was more with a punk, social, anarchy thing with smeared lipstick and combat boots and ripped up clothes and giving the finger.
Who are the big definers of that?
The Cockettes from San Francisco, and actually the whole punk movement was like, well, how far can we go with screwing up the matrix and what we're supposed to do? And
well, it seems to me that in a lot of drag that comedy is essential. That there is a comedy to it. That there's a comedy to the attitude, to the performance, and that self-referential, what you were talking about before. That you can do this. You can present yourself a certain way and then sort of mock it from within.
Absolutely.
Is a comedic disposition.
Absolutely. Once you take that journey and go, okay, I'm going to take the red pill, then you're on your way to really understanding what it is we're doing here. And what it is we're doing here is, not taking yourself too seriously. In fact, I was at Northside School of Performing Arts. My teacher, acting teacher there, he told me the best advice I'd ever gotten from anybody ever and then since. Which is, he said, Ru, don't take life too effing seriously. And that is the key to navigating this life. Don't take it so seriously. And that's when the party begins. So if you take that red pill and you start your journey, you're going to discover, like Dorothy, and all roads lead to Oz, that you get up close and you look behind that curtain and you go, you're the wizard? You're the wizard? You're the wizard?
It's the little guy.
Yeah. And then you get to know the wizard and you go, oh, okay, so everything was all in my head. I imagined this whole thing? Yes. And that's wherein lies the party. That's where you can really have some fun. The only thing you have to watch out is for other people who feel threatened by your party.
What was your experience with that early on?
With other people, I've been very lucky. I'm a sweetheart. People, generally people are very sweet to me. I'm I've had a really good, never been, beaten up or any of that stuff. Never have.
Well, once you got through, once you got done with Wee Wee Pole, and once the sort of the clouds opened and delivered you the drag memo, what was your first incarnation?
Well, the drag memo, had come in many different forms over the years until I put all the pieces of the puzzle.
What do you mean?
Well, first of all, I come as a little teenage boy. People would always say, "You're a boy?" Because I had a huge afro. In fact, in 9th grade, I won Best Afro and Best Dancer. And on a technical level, my features are not very hard. I have, a small nose, relatively speaking, and just the features, so there was that.
It was always there.
It was sort of always there.
An androgyny.
Yeah, and then actually once I was at Illusions on Peachtree at Peachtree and 10th, which is down the street from what you were talking about. And I was watching this drag club, this entertainer, her name is Dina Jacobs. She lives in Hawaii now. And she was singing live. And I thought, that's an interesting angle. I'm going to take note to that.
As opposed to lip sync.
As opposed to lip syncing, yeah. And I thought, interesting.
Yeah.
Save that, tuck that away for later.
Right.
And as time went on, Actually, let me tell you, the first time the band got into drag, we all decided, Now Explosion, the name of the first band, decided to get into drag as a gimmick for one of the shows. So we all got into drag, and as a joke. Mm-hmm. But the people's reaction to me, I wasn't prepared for. They were like, "Girl,
yeah,
damn." Hey, I'm like, what? What are you talking about? I was like, your legs. Oh my God, you look gorgeous.
Oh boy.
I'm like, what? Huh? It wasn't the reaction.
Yeah. You were hot.
I was hot.
You're foxy.
But it was foxy, and I was still doing gender F word. I was still doing that.
Right.
I was rotten.
But you couldn't hide the beauty.
Couldn't hide the fierceness.
It was like, oh, that's who you are.
Yes.
Right.
And it's a very powerful feeling once you get that reaction from people.
Yeah.
You know, you're like, wow,
right.
Interesting. So
it's like magic.
It is like magic, and I do the same. I'm wearing a suit right now when we're talking right now. I've changed clothes 3 times a day. I can be in a cowboy outfit. I can be in. I love that sort of chemistry, that alchemy. You know.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, it's making me wish I had some changes.
Well, you still have time. I'm sure we could whip something up for you, you know.
Well, I'm just thinking about it because, like, if you look at rock and roll and you look at, you know, that it's just such a short jump, because I wouldn't have never assumed that, but, you know, until I talked to you, that the evolution was not, you know, a sexual identity evolution. It was a rock and roll or music evolution. That, you know, you go from Bowie into the New York Dolls. I mean, all of them. I mean, even Mick Jagger to a certain degree. There's a very fine line between drag and whatever the fuck some of those guys are doing.
Yeah.
And so you start out with the gender fuck stuff, but when do you really start to become glamorous?
Well, you know, from Atlanta, I had become, you know, sort of a big star in a small pond in the whole club scene down there. And the next natural evolution is to move to New York. And I had to start all over.
What year is that?
I moved to New York in '84. Then the city spit me out after 6 months.
Did you spit you out?
Well, the city spit me out because couldn't find a place, couldn't find the work. I was sleeping on the piers, sleeping on couches.
Whoa. So you got no money, and you go up from Atlanta, and you got your suitcase full of outfits, and a dream.
Well, the outfits were more. It was still more of that sort of punk androgynous new wave.
So it wasn't you know, straight up drag. You couldn't just integrate into whatever was going down.
No. It was sort of downtown East Village thing, you know. And city spit me out and went back to Atlanta and you know, got myself together and moved back to.
Now, are you drinking a lot now during all this?
Yes.
So what are you?
Yes.
So you're kind of fueled by that as well.
Sure.
What were your drugs in?
Oh yeah, I was a wake and baker.
Oh really?
Forever.
So weed and booze.
From the time I was 10 years old to the time I was 39. About 39.
No powders though.
Whatever you got. I didn't have any money, so you know, the easiest thing to get was. You know, booze, weed, and acid, because acid was only $5.
You were an acid guy?
$5 a pop.
You're surprising me.
$5 a pop. So I would, and of course, I'm one of those, you know, ride or die. So I'm do like 5 hits of acid at a time.
What
From the time I was 21 to the time I was about 29. I dropped acid once a week, and it had to be at least 4 or 5 hits.
What the fuck did you do on acid? I can't.
Everything. We would go out to Six Flags in Atlanta, or even Six Flags out in New Jersey, and ride rides all day long on acid. You know, or whatever. I would do it by myself sometimes, actually. Most times I would do it by myself.
I'm deeply surprised.
Why are you surprised by that? You know what year I'm born in. You know the trajectory. You know the timeline.
I know, but I got RuPaul coming over, and I'm like, I make assumptions about people, not to judge them, but you know, because I want to. You know, like a lot of times what I do here is I get an idea. You know, you're an idea in all of our minds.
Right.
You know, but I remember I saw you in New York once out of makeup, and I'm like, holy shit, that's, you know, that was mind blowing. So I don't know what I'm getting into. So I have this idea of who you are, and the best thing that can happen in here is that it's completely wrong. So the idea that we go from Monty Python to David Bowie to acid once a week, sometimes alone on an amusement park ride, that's thrilling to me.
Yeah, well, but as you just said that, that sounds like the natural course.
Sure.
You know, but you know what's interesting? People making assumptions like that, because it's a safety thing. It's a way to protect yourself, to go, okay, I think I know what I'm going to get here, so I know what to expect. But, you know, what if you lived your life in a way where you don't you don't even care to just along for the ride.
Well, I think what you're talking about when you talk in this way, which you have several times, is a life without fear. Mm-hmm. And I think that that is a struggle. It's going to happen no matter what. And if you're frightened and you're fighting it, it's going to be a harder road for you.
Right.
So, I mean, to let go of fear in a real way, to have the faith to do that, is no easy trick.
Exactly.
And it sounds to me that at some point in your life, with acid and with just, audacity, that you were like, fuck you, fear. Yeah. That it seemed like it was more hands-on than it is now. It seems like you've relaxed into it, but it seems that, in developing and coming into who you are, it was not always that easy. Or you wouldn't have been pummeling yourself that much with drugs and
Well, yeah, but I always knew to run into the flame because where I want to get is to the other side of the flame. But the fear part of it really had to do with other people. The thing I'm the most afraid of on this planet is ignorance of other people.
They're the wild card.
They're the wild card.
You don't know when someone's going to come out of nowhere and hit you in the head for no reason.
Exactly, or the depth of someone's own self-loathing and where that will take them. So, yeah.
What do you base that on? I mean, what is your understanding of that? I mean, I understand what you're saying as somebody that, if you're not straight with your own shit, you're not going to be able to control yourself from making someone else pay for it. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I think culturally that is the most threatening thing about ignorance.
It is. Absolutely. I do a webcast myself, and this is all we talk about.
Really,
this is all we talk about is this movement of what it's like to be a human on this planet and to navigate, and how to navigate. The bigger dangers are coming from inside. The calls are coming from inside the house.
Yeah.
Get out of the house. Get out of the house.
You being your house.
Yes.
The vessel.
Yes.
There's a mutiny.
Yes. It is the most dangerous, and then So,
but how do you approach something like that? I mean, the biggest obstacle to that type of stuff, especially in talking about acceptance, which is what we're talking about, and freedom, and appreciating someone else's freedom. As long as it doesn't, like you say, in the same way you say, just keep it at, you can judge me, just stay out of my face. Mm-hmm. That there has to be two sides to that. We're sort of like, well, they can do what they want to do, even if I don't like it. Tolerance does not imply that you have to like what someone else is doing. Right. You just have to suck it up.
Right. Although tolerance is actually a judgment. Tolerance, acceptance is different from tolerance.
I know, but it's the first step.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't. Yes. If you can get people to tolerance, you got a better shot at acceptance.
I'll take tolerance.
Sure. We can't ask for utopia here. You know what I mean? We have some hard cases to work with.
Yeah.
But when you say that the threat of that ignorance or that idea that it's in the house, I mean, how do you approach that? I mean, it seems to like outside of it being a personal way of thinking. I mean, you see it as a cultural problem.
Yeah.
And
well, my thing is about overriding the system, overriding my own system. Even coming here, I was frustrated in traffic, and I thought, you know what, Rue, the fact that this is happening, it's important for you to follow through with it because you don't know where this is leading, it's even with like an acid trip where you start off and you actually, I never freaked out on acid. I saw other people freak out, and some people know what I'm talking about. When a lot of times when you take acid,
you feel the launch.
You get to actually look at yourself. You get to leave your body and look at yourself. And sometimes what you see is so scary because you see yourself from a perspective that you would never ever get to see otherwise.
Yeah.
And I like to call it the Google Earth button when you get to see the whole landscape. You go, oh my goodness, that in relation to, I know where Highland Park is, and so
But the acid, so you really found that you learned something from acid.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, everything that's led me to this seat right here is part of an experience that is so beautiful and so crazy. And, when I look back on this whole life experience of being RuPaul, I'm going to go, oh my goodness, that was amazing. I loved it so much. And I wish I would have done that more. I wish I wouldn't have been so afraid here. And
like what?
Well, honestly, I wish I had been more of a slut when I was younger.
You missed out.
I missed out. Thing is that people, I feel I'm very sensitive. Mm-hmm. In fact, my mother said, Rue, you're too goddamn sensitive.
Yeah.
I was 5 years old at the time, by the way. But,
they know.
Yeah. So, if I meet someone, if I touch someone, if I'm in someone's presence, I get all of their energy. You know, I can feel. Yeah. I still live in New York, and I live here in Los Angeles.
I get that too. That's like it's a weird thing. It's like I'm able to sort of become codependent within seconds.
In seconds, on the subway. On the subway, it's like, where are you going? Is this your stop?
Yeah. Can I help you out? I have to fight that. I have to consciously not do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because a lot of times you're making it up.
Yes.
I mean, you can feel somebody, but, you know, just because you're sitting there looking at someone on the subway, assuming like, oh my God, he's probably only has a dog that's sick and he's lost and, you know, he might be on his way to work, but I don't know how much of that is fantasy, but it is a weird thing.
It's a weird thing. And, you know, even in New York, I a lot of times, especially since I've been sober now for like 15 years, I don't have that, I can't, it's hard to be around all these people without a little something extra, you know, so by 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I gotta go home.
Exhausted.
I gotta go home because I've taken on so many people's energy and their, you know, so, you know.
I wonder what the hell that is. Cause I mean, I feel that too. And I don't always know what it is. Cause my personality that I move through the world with does not really suggest that, because there's some part of me, like I think it's a need to connect.
I think it does suggest that you're a comic, you're an astute observationist. You know, you take on the world. You are the storyteller of the world. So you have to listen, and you're listening. That's what it is. Right, you're hyper aware of what is going on.
But you can get hurt very easily for no reason.
You can, but what's wrong with that?
Nothing.
You know what? There's a way for you to deal. The way to deal with it is to. Is to transform that energy once it gets inside of your body and making it work for you. It takes a lot of energy to do that.
Yeah.
But that's how you do it. Don't be afraid of that energy. You walk through the fire.
Yeah.
You know, lift up your skirt and fly, ladies.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
So,
how did you see this as an obstacle to you having more fun when you were younger?
Because if I met someone, even if just anonymously, you know, I don't want everybody's energy. I don't want, you know, the idea of it, which is this anonymous thing where it's like, hey, let's have fun, woohoo!
Yeah.
Or even when I was really drunk or something, I immediately sober up and go, who are you?
Yeah.
Who are you?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
You need to go deeper.
I need to go deeper. And in fact, I realized too, that the connection I really wanted was a deeper connection. It wasn't just
I feel the same way, because it's like the surfaces they're not satisfying.
Well, it's just like Wizard of Oz, where you have this idea of what the wizard is, and then when you get there, you're like, oh, yeah. Or it's like the relationship between a film projector and a screen. You know, when you turn the lights on and you go over to the screen, you go, wait, this is just paper.
Yeah.
You're the projector.
Yeah, that's right.
And so you project all of this energy onto another person or to the metaphor of the screen.
And it's quite exhausting for some people.
Sure it is, but depending on how vast your imagination is.
Yeah.
You know, and I know you have a vast imagination.
Yeah.
But knowing that you have a vast imagination is part of an understanding of overriding the machine or N-word rigging the machine, or, you know, it's a way to navigate what you are.
So when did you go back to New York?
Well, I still live in New York.
No, but I mean, 84, you get spit out. Right. You go back to Atlanta.
I moved back to New York in 87. At 87, my Saturn returns. I was about to turn 28. It was actually, you know, Saturn returns starts heating up at about 27. You know, it doesn't really end until the dust doesn't settle until about 30. Mm-hmm. So all of that period was really, really, really hard, really tough. Trying to make a living. And
what were you doing?
Well, I was still working in clubs, go-go dancing, hosting and stuff. And when I moved to
glamorous now, not gender fuck.
No, by that time I had moved into what I like to call street hooker. Uh-huh. That was my look was street hooker, because I wanted to look like a Soul Train dancer. Uh-huh. So everything was, you know,
dirty.
Was dirty but fun, like a Mary Jane girl or, you know, Vanity Six.
And where are you dancing?
At the Pyramid, at Mars, at what were some of the clubs back then?
I remember the Pyramid. That was down where I lived. I lived on.
It's still there.
Second between A and B.
Yeah, the Pyramid. It's on Avenue A between 7th and 6th Street. Still there. Uh-huh. But so to be competitive at that point, I had to leave the gender, I'll say the gender fuck behind, and be competitive and say, well, if they think I'm sexy in the gender fuck, I'm going to give it to them in my street hooker look. And I was, it was hot. It was trashy.
Yeah.
It was trashy, but it was hot. So I got the motherfucking jobs.
Yeah.
I worked. And by 89, I'd become, at that point it was a big deal, but I'd become the Queen of Manhattan. It was a title they would give someone every year.
A drag title?
There was a king and a queen.
Uh-huh.
So, that year, 89, 1990, I won Queen of Manhattan, which was the pinnacle of downtown success.
Right, right.
So after my reign had ended, I decided, okay, where do I take it? And by that time, other neighborhood kids had jumped ahead of the line in the fame line for me. And I was like, it was Delight. The group Delight, Grooves in the Heart.
Right.
They had jumped ahead of the line. It's like, wait a minute. I was in line to go to the big time before you.
Yeah.
So that woke me up, and I decided I would work on my demo tape. I wouldn't do as many club gigs.
So that you were like, fuck those guys.
Right. Exactly.
Who were your role models for your the sort of dynamic you were like? Who were your female role models?
Well, it had always been Cher and Diana Ross, that kind of thing. It was the typical things, that type of glamour and that type of
why Cher? Why is it always Cher?
I'll tell you why. Because this is the same with all of the gay female icons throughout. Joan Crawford, Judy Garland, because these people embody the duality of strength and vulnerability. They have both the power and the softness. They're both. I
always wondered this.
This is actually why. And everybody who relates to them feels that exact same strength as being a man, but also being emotional and soft. The power of Judy Garland's voice, and she wants to give until it hurts, and she's so big. This is like 4'11", little powerhouse,
right?
But so vulnerable and so lovely. Cher is very kind of butch the way she acts, but she's hiding the fact that she's actually a sweet girl.
Uh-huh.
So, when I met her in person the first time, I was taken aback by how beautiful she is in person. The camera picks up, she's gorgeous, amazing. Yeah. But when you see her in person, you're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Something, she's got it.
Yeah.
She's got it.
Yeah.
Anyway, same with Diana, this powerhouse, and she's so charming.
Yeah.
All of that,
Yeah.
So, and Madonna is clearly a man.
Right.
So, she's got all of those aspects. All of those aspects.
I never found her to be as dynamic as the other woman you're talking about.
No, because she is
spectacle.
Well, Madonna is a curator. She is she understands how to market. I mean, everybody knows this. She's more of a curator, and that's where we are in culture today. And the world is caught up to what she's doing. Like Tom Ford, the designer, or Karl Lagerfeld, they are curators. They're not necessarily, Tom Ford doesn't know how to sew.
Yeah.
He doesn't sew. Karl Lagerfeld doesn't sew. Madonna the same. She sings. She actually does it all.
Yeah.
Not like the greatest.
Sure.
But she knows exactly what to do and how to put it together. And that's the genius.
Yeah, that is the genius. But I feel like because of how fragmented and how chaotic media has become, that there's actually a movement more towards a type of authenticity, of actual sewing. I'm hoping sewing will come back.
Yeah, that's you projecting into the world. That's a cute idea. It's an adorable idea.
Well, I'm going to sew, Rue. I'll be here sewing in my garage. You can go do your organized spectacles wherever you want.
Well, the thing is, you look at H&M or you look at Zara and all these big companies and Uniqlo or whatever it's called. They know what the consumer wants, and the consumer wants it now.
Yeah.
And they want,
and it doesn't have to last long.
Doesn't
anymore.
have to last long at
6
all.
months, I'll throw it away.
Honey, you put it in the washing machine.
Yeah.
And it's done. So, but that's okay.
That should be the saying for H&M. That's their slogan. Put it in the washing machine. It's done. Come back and get a new thing. There you go.
And I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
I'm cool with that.
Well, the price is right. It'd be one thing if you were spending $500 on something, but you go to H&M, you're like, a shirt's $12? No, I can wear it tonight and throw it away.
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah. All right, so D-Light puts a fire under your ass.
Yes, they put a fire under my ass, and I decide, okay, I'm going to get to it. So I go to my old friends who I know from the East Village who are starting this company, and I say, look, I want to do this.
What kind of company?
Well, they have a production company called World of Wonder, and they produce RuPaul's Drag Race. They produced my talk show on VH1.
You've been with them since then, huh?
They produced an album I did in '86 called RuPaul is Star Booty.
Oh yeah.
So I've been with them for many years.
Oh, that's nice.
And
loyalty's nice.
Yeah, and I'm Scorpio, so loyalty is a big one for me. And we have so much fun together. So I went to them. Decided, and then went to some other friends from the East Village, Matthew and Zaldi, and they put together a look for me. And they said, let's go super glam. Let's do Glamazon. Yeah. And that's what I did. I jacked up the volume. Added one dash of Cher, a tablespoon of Dolly Parton, and a heaping shovelful of Diana Ross, and voila, you get RuPaul Glamazon, supermodel of the world.
And then that was the break.
That was the break.
And what was exactly the thing that launched you?
It was the Arsenio Hall show. Yep.
Arsenio.
Yep. The Arsenio Hall show.
What's up with you? What's up with RuPaul? Yeah.
That's what did it. And overnight, and my mother, she was about to, metaphor here, she was about to go to Paris. And she got to see the very beginning of my fame before she moved on. And it was so brilliant because here she had had this prophecy that I would be this famous something. Yeah. And she got to see it come true.
And was she thrilled?
She was. I remember at one point she said, she was on her, they had put her bed in the living room. We were watching television because I knew that Kurt Loder had done the story on me for MTV. And they did a teaser for it on MTV, and she looked over at me and she said, "Ru, nigga, you are crazy."
She got it. She got it.
Yes. It was great.
You've arrived.
I've arrived.
Well, what did your dad think?
My father was never present in a bigger sense of it, and I spent so much of my life trying to go, look, I can dance. First of all, I recognized him as my soul brother. I recognized him as a kindred spirit I'd spent many lifetimes with, right?
But he was out of your life.
He was out of my life, but more in a broader sense, because I recognized him when I came to this planet. Bear with me, I'm from California. Just hold on. Yeah. I said, "I know you, buddy. You're my buddy. Yeah. Let's party." And he's saying, "I can't see you because I can't see myself." Yeah. And my response to that was, "You want laughter? You want joy? You want dancing? I've got it. I've got you." Yeah. And I would laugh and dance, joy. Yeah. He couldn't see it because he couldn't see himself. So that motivated me in my life to make him see me. You gotta see me. I want to do this.
In general.
I
think that's the best way I've heard that put, because I think that people, men specifically in my experience, whose fathers were either absent emotionally or physically, the ambition is to, look at, see me. Yes. Please see me.
Yeah.
At whatever cost.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, well, and that's what I did until about the time I was around the time I got sober and got into therapy, and I stepped back from show business for many years. Yeah. And I self-reflected, and I realized that's what I was doing with him, and I changed what motivated me to do what I do. I changed that carrot in front of the cart.
Yeah, because those needs can never be met.
Never be met, and it's unfulfilling.
Yeah, and you don't know that. That's one of the reasons why you do drugs and you do all this thing, because you have this drive, and you want to show yourself and be rewarded for it. But if the emotional needs are father approval, those days are over.
Right. That's why the Wizard of Oz is so important. That's why that analogy is so important. Because you have this journey. I want to get there so I can get what I need. You get there, you look behind the curtain, and you go, that's it?
That's the guy?
That's it?
Yeah.
And then you have to sit it out, and that's actually what Saturn Returns is all about. You sit it out, and you recalibrate what your ambition is about. Unfortunately, it took me many years after that to recalibrate what I would.
Well, how'd you do that? Because I could maybe use some of that advice.
Well, what you do is you start with you. What makes you happy? And
it's weird that you don't know.
Isn't that funny?
I mean, I'm 50. And I'm at like one of those kind of precipice. I'm at the precipice of that right now. It's like, all right, so this is it. You're doing okay. Why don't you feel okay? Well, what do you want? I don't fucking know. To really figure out what your own needs are and what really makes you happy as opposed to what makes you sort of feel that hit of like, yeah, look at me. It's tricky.
Well, it's tricky, but, I don't know how much time we have, but,
Not enough to fix me, but we could give me a few pointers.
Well, there's this thing with my father. I have this scene in my head that with my father where actually on weekends he was supposed to come pick me up, and I would sit on that porch, and he would never show up. Ugh. Well, let me tell you this.
Yeah.
That scenario in my head is a benchmark in my head, right?
Yeah.
So I had inevitably looked for situations to strengthen my identity as the little boy who was left behind. Because on some level, that identity is what drove my buggy, right?
Yeah, right.
Once I'm able to let go of that identity and say, that's not me, and I don't get off on that, then the party can begin.
Right.
So, but it's very tricky because, like I said, that tail grows back, and sometimes it'll creep in through someone else, a different person, like, now playing the role of Rue's father is,
Right.
So once you recognize it, once you hit that Google Earth button and get some perspective, you go, there it is.
Yeah.
That's it right there.
Right.
Cut that out and say, what do I like? It's like, at first, I'm not that little boy on the porch. And second, I was never that little boy on the porch. What rocks my boat now? If I wasn't that, then what are you? Well, I love to laugh. I love to dance. I love to look at people and go and do things, and that's where the real party begins.
Now, were you ever able to express this to him as a man?
No. He couldn't get that. It was never about, how dogs or cat, where you have a stick and you throw it, and the cat or dog doesn't realize that, well, it would be a dog, wouldn't it? Doesn't realize that you've let go of the stick and the stick is over there, but the dog is still looking at the hand.
Yeah.
It's like, and you're like, no, dummy, I threw the stick over there, and it's still looking at your hand like your hand has the thing.
Right.
He was just an instrument, my father.
Yeah.
For me to understand that the stick was over there.
Yeah.
So stop, don't focus on the stick.
Right.
The prize is over there. Once you get over there, there are even more prizes. You have many lifetimes in this one lifetime, Mark.
Yeah.
Don't get stuck on that identity. That's why when I started doing drag, and that's why it's such an important idea, the idea of drag, is that you're not the things it says you are on your driver's license.
Right.
You're way more.
Right.
You are God in drag. Do you understand how grand that is? How many things you could do? It's outrageous. It's unlimited.
You just have to transcend that faulty relationship with this idea of what your expectations are relative to your father and transcend the fear of fun.
Exactly.
Don't be embarrassed to have fun. Don't be embarrassed to have joy.
Yes, and you have to ask yourself, do I really want joy? Am I really fixated on being that boy on the porch?
Yeah.
Or am I fixated, or do you really want to have fun? Because some people aren't, so you give people advice or you say, a solution, and they're like, yeah, but it's like,
I think for me, and I don't know that it sounds like it's the same for you, that I think that experiencing joy and having fun the way you want to have fun is a vulnerable place. Mm-hmm. So I think that one of the things that I seem to be afraid of is being mocked or hurt in that place.
I don't believe that. I think that there's a certain dance, there's a certain J.O. factor of the agony of Oh God, I can't. Nothing ever works out for me.
Come on, I don't believe that. That is not who I am.
Well, but you listen.
You're right.
When you look at the machine, we're not that. Any machine, we're not that unique. One machine to the other. They have little differences here and there, but mostly all the machines are the same.
Yeah.
That's what happens with the machine. And when you can override it, when you can N-word rig it, you can party. Then you can say, you know what? Your fear of looking stupid is holding you back.
That's right.
I don't care. I don't care what people say. I ain't studying you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I know. So I can, maybe I'll go get some dresses.
Listen, you can get dresses, you can do whatever. How long have you had that shirt you're wearing right now?
It's pretty new.
Is it?
Well, I mean, I got it, I got it from the TV show. They bought it for me. So, you think I need a new shirt?
Well,
Okay. I'm going to write that down. Get new shirts. RuPaul says so.
Get new everything. Why not?
A makeover. We should do a makeover show.
Well,
me and you.
it's just there's so
I'll
much.
shave. I'm going to shave later.
Well, no. There's just so much time you have, and you want to look back and go, yeah, you know what? I kicked the fuck out of this shit.
Yeah.
I did it. Well,
you definitely did. I mean, I like when I was kind of browsing over the major accomplishments. Mm-hmm. I thought it was very interesting that you were the first drag personality to get a makeup deal. That's a big deal.
Yeah, well, it is a big deal. It's a big deal.
Do you find that what kind of feedback do you get from fans in terms of inspirational, like you being an inspiration?
Listen, I've always said, my goal was never to be a role model.
Right, no,
it was more
I know.
to be a supermodel. But my goal was to have fun. That I like to laugh, I like to dance, I like to party, I love music. Mm-hmm. But that's my goal. But if somebody gets off on what I'm doing, right on. But that's a second. That comes after.
But it's an amazingly gratifying thing. I mean, I'm in the same boat, and whatever I'm doing here, I get this feedback where it's sort of like, you helped me out. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And there's nothing really more rewarding than that on an emotional level.
Well, yeah. Although, yeah, okay, sure, it is
still not as fun.
But everything has to start from you. If you created this whole program, this computer program, then it starts with you. Joy is something that emanates from within. Happiness comes from without, but from outside of you. It does? Yeah, happiness comes from outside of you. Joy emanates from within, and that is there for you at any moment. It's up to you to decide. Am I the boy on the porch, or am I God in drag? And I can change any situation from the inside out.
Okay, I got a lot of work to do.
No, you don't. I know you. You're there.
I know. I'm just acting.
Well, some people are so fixated on the being without or being. Their smaller self.
That's right. The
being
smaller self.
Smaller self.
So now, okay, another question I need to ask. Just on a general way.
The answer is 36, 24, 36.
I knew it.
Yes, they're real.
I knew it. I knew it. They're real and in the car. It's not on right now. But wait, what is it? I've gotten to in terms of words. Tranny. Bother you?
What does word tranny bother me? No.
Okay.
I love the word tranny.
Like there's the transsexual, transgender community.
No. It's not the transsexual community who's saying that. These are fringe people who are looking for storylines to strengthen their identity as victims. That is what we're dealing. It's not the trans community, because most people who are trans have been through hell and high water, and they've looked behind the curtain at Oz and went, oh, this is all a fucking joke.
Right.
But some people haven't, and they've used their victimhood to create a situation where, no, you look at me. I want you to see me the way you're supposed to see me. If your idea of happiness has to do with someone else changing what they say, what they do, you are in for a fucking hard-ass road, because the ego would have you think that if you stop doing what you're doing, Mark, if you change that shirt, then I'll be happy. That is a trap. That's a trap that the ego will have you. It gets you every time.
Yeah.
So the truth is, listen, I've been up against that. You know I have.
Yeah.
My 32-year career speaks for itself.
Right.
I dance to the beat of a different drummer. I believe everybody, you could be whatever the hell you want to be.
Yeah.
I ain't stopping you.
Yeah.
But don't you dare tell me what I can do or what I can't say or do. It's just words. Yeah, words do hurt. Words hurt me. You know what? Bitch, you need to get stronger. You really do. Because you know what? If you're upset by something I said, you have bigger problems than you think. I'm telling you this. I know a lot of people are going to get upset about this, but the truth is, we have established that this is all a joke.
Yeah.
There are people who take the Matrix seriously. It's like a play. You
can't work if you're going to be outside the Matrix. You can't play by its rules or try to break the rules of the Matrix. You just live outside of it, or you're in it.
That's right. Bingo.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like a play. If you're in a play on stage,
right.
And I'm playing this character, and you're playing that character.
Yeah.
If you press freeze and you go off the stage and you look at the play and go, oh, I see where this is going.
Right.
I understand what this is.
Yeah.
Then you go back into the play, hit the pause button, and go, okay, let's have fun.
Yeah.
I'm going to have fun now. But you can't take. My teacher said, Ru, don't take life too seriously.
Yeah.
Some people will force you. I want you to take me seriously. It's like, okay, well, I think I need to go someplace else.
Yeah.
Because you're not in the same play that I'm in.
That's right.
So
do you deal with flack for how you?
You know what? I have just recently. Our show got into some thing with it, but these are 4 people.
RuPaul's Drag Race.
Yes, 4 people who have a Wi-Fi connection, sit behind a computer in God knows where, and deliberately misinterpret our verbiage. And decide you hurt me or you decide we are not doing anything to you. That's how you interpreted it, and you have the freedom to do that. But we're coming from a place of love, and in fact, the ego cannot discern the intention behind. I can call myself a nigger, faggot, tranny all I want to because I've fucking earned the right to do it. I've lived the life. I've been on the front line. So, and my intention, if I call my other girlfriend, bitch, she knows I'm talking about it from a place of love. She knows that. And so, but people out of school, could take that same information and try to use it against us, because the ego cannot pick up the intention behind it.
I understand what you're saying, because the sort of the censoring, even though it may make someone else comfortable or play to a broader social cultural sensitivity. Like, I think what they're asking for, it seems to me, is to be respected as a community, or to be respected as somebody who's trying to be who they are,
right.
And they see any sort of verbiage that they see as negative, an obstacle. Whereas, if you live the life and you transcend all that shit, you're truly free.
You know that the voices, the calls are coming from inside the house. It doesn't change from the outside in, it changes from the inside out.
Wow.
But, listen, there's nothing you could say to those people that will change it, because it's an element of the machine, of the cycle. We all have that. We all have. Some of us can transcend it more. That idea that the world is against me, there's a conspiracy against me. But it's the same as in the book Animal Farm, or Orwell's Animal Farm, where the animals forgot why they had a revolution in the first place. And the pigs started walking up on their hind legs. It's like, no. The reason we do this is because we wanted to start something different, something new, something broader.
Right.
But they want to go back to,
They insist on playing by the Matrix rules.
Exactly. They secretly just want to be Farmer John.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and it's like, what?
What?
Yeah. This conversation. It's a lose-lose conversation. I actually stayed away from this dialogue forever, because it's a lose-lose situation. You cannot win with this. When you're up against the ego, you will only come up. Your ego will bring out their ego, and that's how wars get started.
That's right.
But it's like, what? I believe what I believe. You believe what you believe. Let's just call it a truce.
All right. I think that's a good way to end. You?
Yeah, I think so.
It was lovely talking to you.
It was fun. Yeah.
It was great. It was far more amazing than I could have ever anticipated.
Good.
All right.
Good.
Okay, that's it. That's our show. What a smart fucking, grounded dude. That helped me out. It helped me out. Go to WTFpod.com for all your WTF pod needs. Please get the app. If you're new to the show, only the most recent 50 are available for free. You can get the free WTF app at the app place and upgrade for a few bucks to premium and stream all of them. And do whatever you got to do over there at WTFpod.com. Get some justcoffee.coop. Do what you got to do. And also, don't forget to download the free mobile app from WNYC. It's the gateway to endless hours of smart talk and great storytelling, including hit WNYC podcasts like Radiolab and Freakonomics Radio and the best of public radio on demand, folks. Use the new Discover feature, which can instantly download a custom playlist based on topics you're interested in and how much time you have to listen. It's the smartest way to binge on the best radio shows out there, and it's all free. Start smart binging with WNYC today at WNYC.org/smartbinge. That's WNYC.org/smartbinge. Okay? Do that. I have work to do. I have to write some songs. All right. Boomer lives!